and roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our East co-host. To my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Producing back east, Jumbo Josh. What up?
What's up?
Wasabi.
Post-Easter Monday, the 22nd. I'm chilling.
You are?
Yeah.
You're not tired?
Maybe a little bit of a food coma, but I'm not tired. No.
Oh, man.
A lot of
You?
eating on Easter? A lot of eating on Easter?
On Easter and today, leftovers.
The Megs.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, did we even... Well, I had some this morning, you're right, but we didn't really do the paint the eggs, hide the eggs, go look for the eggs. How was your Easter?
Pretty good. Spent it stealing eggs from kids, you know, the normal. No, just kidding. It was just did some adult stuff. You know, I didn't get. A lot of places were actually open on Easter, guys, but they close early. And as somebody who has held many jobs that were affected by set holiday hours, I can appreciate that. I say let people enjoy their holiday. I'll sign off to vote for that. But if we're going to open our business on a holiday, you're therefore paying your workers time and a half or whatever. I don't get things like Easter, like things like. Maybe Thanksgiving you can still get away with it, but the getting off, you know, early, like Easter's like a daytime thing. Like everywhere was closed early, but not early, like 6 p.m. as opposed to 8 p.m. Or if it was like 9 p.m. it'd be closed at 7 p.m. And I'm like, now you're just messing with people who are like, oh, this place is still open, let me go in there. And they're like, oh wait, we're closing early because of Easter. Like Easter was like 5 hours ago at 7 p.m. Why are you pushing me out of your store? Why don't you just stay closed then? I'm sorry, am I complaining about too much of a nitpick here? Or?
I was trying to think. I was seeing a lot of places more closed for Easter this year than before.
Really?
But New Year's Eve, I think, or New Year's Day is the one that has the most closed, right?
For sure.
Even more than Christmas and all that.
That
That's
would
the
make
one
sense.
where, like,
Yeah.
if you're not planning on eating leftovers, you better plan for that shit. I remember one day on New Year's Day, I tried to go everywhere to find stuff. I couldn't find anything. Everything was closed.
New Year's Day, like noon?
New Year's Day,
Noon
yeah.
or 2 or what?
No, the whole day.
Really? I didn't know that. I will say this. We're a more diverse country. So I found that, for example, when I was younger, all these holidays, it was a complete shutdown. They were closed. And now there's just multiple shifts because there's a lot of people that are non-believers, for example, of a Christmas or an Easter. There's just different people from different parts of the world now that observe other religions. Mm-hmm. So, I can be here for Easter, you know.
Right.
My equivalent to Easter's another time of the day or another time of the year or whatever, so I can be here and no big deal. But
still need Super Bowl off.
Even 7-Elevens, guys, were closed back then.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Super Bowl or the day after?
The
day after needs to be a holiday,
Yeah.
they say. Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know.
That should be the next one. Whoever's running for president needs to guarantee an extra day every year, maybe the day after Super Bowl, and Wi-Fi everywhere. That or some kind of technology where your cell phone doesn't drop anymore and text messages always go through, and I would fucking vote for that guy.
Sounds like a daily debate.
Or gal.
Which one would you rather prefer?
Yeah. We've had fun ones before. Maybe
Yeah.
they all let us do something like that.
Yeah, that was for a Friday.
We can debate anytime, honestly. Like, just because we agree on one, if you ever think of one that's in addition to or outside the box, let's just run it.
I was like good old power rankings debate. And obviously, George's a rankings fan here, a rankings guy, if you will. And power ranking anything is always fun, whether it be experiences, foods, or otherwise. Fighters, even. You know?
Yeah. I happened to come across the notes the other day when all of us opened our restaurants.
Oh, jeez.
I still can't believe Jiu-Jitsu won, man. I was looking at his menu compared to mine. My menu was awesome, but all right. Today we have one guest, Conan Silveira, Marcus Conan Silveira from American Top Team. He's one of their head coaches out there. That team is on fire. They got for one, they have a lot of fighters out there, but they just got another UFC champion a few weeks ago with Dustin Poirier claiming the UFC lightweight interim lightweight belt. Sorry, but it seems like every corner there's like 2-3 American top team fighters going, and it's either Mike Brown or Marcus Silveira that are in these corners along with others. So we'll talk to him. We'll talk to him about that and a few questions that actually came up last week. Walt Harris was saying, I had to pull away. There was just too many guys, and I feel like I'm going to fight one of them at some point. So how big can a team get? Also, if you want to call in, participate any time during the show, it's 877-FIGHT-93, 877-344-4893. Discuss anything you want. Now, obviously, we're going to lead off with a little bit of some UFC St. Petersburg talk. That's also known as UFC on ESPN Plus 7, and also UFC Overeem versus Oleinik. You can tweet at us at any point during the show at MMA on SiriusXM. Keep an eye on those, by the way. It's a good, really, really good follow. All the shows, not just ours. We post our audiograms and lots of different news and nuggets throughout the day. From our show, Luke Thomas Show, Busted Open, At the Fight, and MMA Tonight. All right. So, guys, the Reem gets it done in St. Petersburg. He was the away team fighting it for Oleinik, the home team. He was the Russian. He had some moments. In fact, he pulled guard and started going right after that Ezekiel. But you could tell Overeem was not going to just he wasn't going to tap. I had a feeling I knew that he wasn't going to tap right away because this guy's he's been around. Even if you discount whatever grappling he has done in the past and say, come on, George, that was a long time ago, whatever. He's just a heavyweight who's fought for a long time against a lot of really big-name fighters. I thought that's the type of submission he might succumb to later due to exhaustion and damage, and maybe you slip up and this guy catches you okay. But early on, I had a feeling he'd be all right. But regardless, Alexei Oleinik went out there. He had some really, really big winging right hands, a couple of them that looked like they, I don't know if I want to say rocked, but certainly wobbled Alistair. It just depends on how much you buy into the announcers and how they're making it sound. They have the best view in the house, and if they're seeing something I miss, hey, okay. But I felt like Overeem was okay, and he went to his traditional cover-up that he's done the last few years, which I'm not always a big fan of because those heavyweights, it seems like those punches slip through one way or another. But honestly, it did well for him. He covered up. He was able to weather a storm or two, and then he was able to come back and get his game going. The clinch, he was really, really strong in the clinch, and eventually, some knees of the body tenderized him early on. But how about those knees from the side? Boom, clipping him until he finally got him. A little bit of a follow-up there with some ground and pound. Alexei Oleinik, I couldn't tell if he was covering up as if to say, you got me, someone get me out of here, or if he was covering up the same way Overeem was covering up just to mitigate the damage coming from the ground and pound. And Overeem, like the savvy veteran that he is, took that extra half second to see, oh, there's a point in the head where I must elbow. And then he hit that one, and referee stepped in and said, that's it, we've seen enough. And I thought everything that I had seen within that fight was pleasing to me. Because let's face it, the last few round of main events in mixed martial arts have really raised the bar in 2019. I'm telling you, 2019 has been no joke. So I had popcorn ready, you know what I mean, for this main event. And even though it wasn't like those others, Pettis and Thompson, Masvidal until, that much of an epic finish, it was still a solid main event. And therefore, I just closed the laptop and told myself, hey, fun Saturday morning / Saturday afternoon.
I was very confused the whole fight.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell, and I don't know if it was the commentary, if I'm dumb. There were times where I couldn't tell if either guy was really hurt or in danger or what the hell was going on. There were times where Oleinik was running, and I kept thinking, why doesn't Reem just stop and throw a straight right hand right down the pike? It was so weird. There were times where I was happy he was going to Overeem's body, and I thought, all right, this is going to wear him down. But then there were expressions on Overeem's face that made it look like it was bothering him. And then there were times where he was just kind of almost playing around with his food or something. He didn't care. And then he would turn it around, and then he would bring it. I really had no idea what was going on in the fight, but I could tell that there was going to be a finish eventually. I just didn't know in which direction it was going to go. I was very confused that fight.
The heavyweight MMA, baby. Just props to Olynyk, man. He really made it a fight. It was his aggression that really made I don't want to say made Overeem, come out of his shell because, I mean, let's be honest, one of the stats that jumped out at me when I was breaking this fight down was, I mean, these are the two of the highest, most prolific first-round finishers in heavyweight MMA history. I think there was, north of 50 first-round finishes between both of them. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And so, I mean, I'm not surprised that it ended in the first round. But yeah, like Ghost said, it was really back and forth. And kind of like you were saying, George, yeah, Overeem, we see him do that shell in a lot of his fights. I think he is kind of hurt, but I mean, it's obviously it's something he can recover from because in his fights that he wins, he recovers from it. But even in the fights that he loses, like the Stipe fight, he was able to regain himself by putting his back to the cage. I don't like it either, George. I'm not a biggest fan of kind of what's going to happen when he does it.
Right.
But it's
not to tire him out or let him throw his arms out, but maybe to cover up and then, boom, come back with a hook, use your footwork, bounce off that cage, and get out of there. But he'll actually take 8 to 10 to 12 strikes. I'm like, wow, what if one of those slips through? These are 4-ounce gloves,
And he was watching
and
it too.
And I bet Overeem, so I was sweating it a little.
Yeah, but when he's watching it too, you look at him, he's looking through the guard, and not that, Olynyk has the most diverse shot selection, but he was going around the guard, uppercuts and straight shots, and Overeem was seeing each of them and adjusting accordingly.
Yeah.
And I guess in his defense that, fights that he wins or loses, it's never in that position as much as it makes even guys like me and you go, ugh. But
the second time, I don't know if it was a replay or the second time where he covered up like that, there was a good camera angle, and you could see, just like you said, his cover-up is really nice.
Yeah.
Like, it really protects him well. I mean, you can't cover everything, like your chin, your jaw, your temple, the back of the ear. Something's going to be exposed no matter how much, whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
We've seen so many different types of defenses lately. But Overeem did a really, really good job against Olynyk. And those guys, they went out there and they earned their check, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
It was a good fight.
Definitely.
Really, really good fight.
Let me ask you, I know you're going to be getting into the results here, and I'll let you lead the way there, obviously, but just kind of a tease, I guess. How did you do on your plays, if you want to say? I got washed, man. I did terrible. That's the only reason why I'm asking. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't do many.
I didn't do many either, but I just got washed on the ones that I did make. I was like, ooh, I barely it was like 51 to 50% picks, I guess, if that makes sense. Like if there were 7, fights, I picked, 4 right, and I got 3 wrong, if that makes any sense. Like that's how I ended up with my picks. It was pretty rough in Russia.
Yeah, no, I was okay. But it's because I didn't do many. And a lot of times I like to play every fight just a little bit.
Yeah.
And in this case, I didn't. So, now that said, it wasn't anything to write home about. Lately, I have a couple little systems going, and one of them is just take every dog, just see how you do.
Okay.
And take every dog can't hurt you.
Yeah.
It
in
really
MMA?
can't.
Oh, only MMA? Are you talking?
Only MMA.
Okay.
It cannot hurt you. You can either come up slightly. You're not breaking the bank, but you can either come up slightly or just hang in there. And again, you're only winning 4 of the 12.
No.
Maybe 5 of the 12. But that time when 7 or 8 of them come in, you have really, really nice nights. So if you can just do that, along with, there's a few others where you're going to take the favorite, no matter what. And so you figure out a way where you can parlay 2 of them, maybe to take some of that sting off, have some fun. Honestly, I'll tell you this, Dan. I have my Dan Tom parlay. I have my Joey Odessa plays.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I have a couple
on.
Little things as a tribute to you guys.
Oh, cheers.
For the work that you guys do. And then I do my bet every dog stuff. So I'm having fun. I'm not out there creating a havoc or anything like that because I'm not playing big numbers.
Yeah, totally.
But it just puts me on a little bit more on the edge of my seat.
I have been inheriting that a little bit. I'm too married to my analysis to go away from it. But from a gaming perspective, I kind of will do that, George. So even like if it's a favorite that I'm not playing, or if it's a favorite I'm picking them, but it's like a minus 800 whatever, or something stupid, and I'm just gonna throw money on the dog anyways. Because some fights I'll look and I'll be like, you know what? I didn't pick this guy to win, but I'm not really I'm not betting it over. I'm not betting the guy that I picked the favorite straight up. So why not put money on the dog? It's not like I have any action anyways. And if you're kind of betting, kind of like me and you, we're not betting our bank or anything. We're just keeping it fun. Then yeah, you kind of surprise yourself. You end up taking money on a fight that you probably, if you would have touched, you would have gone the wrong way on.
Probably, exactly. That's all I want to know is who has strengths in what little positions. You know what I mean? That way I can have a little bit more fun than usual. Mm-hmm. All right, so again, Alistair Overeem defeated Alexei Olenek via first-round stoppage. It was a TKO stoppage. Islam Makhachev won the co-main event against Aman Sarukian, and that was 2 30-27s and a 29-28. I'll tell you about the rest of the card when we come back. I want to at least get the main event and the co-main event out there. We're going to take this quick break here. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, channel 156. We're going to do a lot today in terms of kind of catching up a little bit on the news, recapping this St. Petersburg card. There was some fights out in Japan. Darren Till parties like a rock star. So stay with us. We will be right back.
Twitter follows them. Here are George Goes and Dan Tom.
It's NFL Draft Week, and Fantasy Sports Radio will be live in Nashville, bringing you pick-by-pick coverage of the fantasy football perspective. Meet the future stars of fantasy football and find out which rookie can help you win your league. It all starts Thursday and continues through Saturday with our fantasy football NFL Draft Party from Margaritaville in Nashville. Your home for fantasy football is SiriusXM, Fantasy Sports Radio, Sirius 210, XM87, and streaming on your phone and at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. All right. We're talking a little bit about some of the news out there in the sport of mixed martial arts. No. We're going to get that in a second. I wanted to finish a little bit of the heavyweight division and the fallout from Overeem and Olenek. But what were we going to say?
Well, I guess it's something a little tied into that.
Okay.
Before this Saturday, we were talking about what Alistair Overeem needed to do to take that jump up into the last two to three guys at the very top, right?
It was kind of part of a daily debate, wasn't it?
I think so. And we were
I don't think he met the criteria.
You don't think so?
No. Because it was a nice win. Don't get me wrong. But Twitter didn't blow up. For one, it was a show that was in the morning / afternoon, depending on where you were. And those overseas cards like that, man, they just kind of get looked over. The old Fight Pass cards, the ones that just don't have enough of that pop. You know, you need a little bit of name recognition, and that way it's all set up so that the main eventers can go out and do something. If they had gotten the main event from the previous week, the Izzy Gastelum fight, and then you still have that, then just there's more shine on the card, and I feel like there's more of a Twitter blow up. But Alistair Overeem went in there and he did his job, but I looked at the rankings because I got to turn some stuff in later on, and he's just behind Blades and he's behind Ngannou. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
The JDS win is huge, but JDS has to beat Francis Ngannou first. And then you can go, well, I beat the guy that beat me, you know, because it's like a round robin.
Right.
But in the meantime, Blades is sitting there going, cool, proud of you, kid, but I beat you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's just really no movement for him to get up in there. Afterwards, remember goes, I mean, this thing needed to be perfect. And Alistair Overeem's a nice guy. He's not going to go in there and be a straight-up G. And
I kind of like this post-fight, but you're right. It's not what he needed to be there. But I actually kind of liked it.
So I think everyone just said, good on you, Alistair, you know, and that's it. Now, remember, a few other things. This was part of a daily debate, so I kind of remember it vividly. Yep. We needed to hear something like maybe an update. Let's say Dana was there, and somebody said, Dana, man, the heavyweight division, any comments? And then if he said something like, Brock still ain't answering my calls, we're moving on without him, it's going to be Stipe and Cormier in August. You know, then we can say, okay, well, how can we get Alistair in there? You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, pieces of the puzzle needed to fall, and in the last 4 or 5 days, he went out there and did his job, but he's not near a title shot right now, unfortunately.
Well, I was going to say I thought his performance was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And along those lines of what we were talking about, but I was going to say something similar to what you said. I think the card he was on, the timing that they were on.
We're on a hangover.
It was an injustice to everything I thought he did everything right physically, but you're right. There was no Twitter blow up.
Yep.
That just people weren't really watching it. Felt like
the spring has been awesome. The main events have been on a roll, and then what we saw in Atlanta was something else. We were a little bit on a hangover. Boxing had two, major stars doing their thing. The NHL and NBA playoffs are doing their thing, so the card just lacked oomph.
Well, I think hangover was the right word. I was looking at the weekly Monday Dana White Fight Week, and I like to read the comments, and I did not really like to read the comments, but this one I did because he said he said the main event, but he also shouted out, and Hardy Smolyakov, all caps, exclamation marks. I'm like, oh, the fans are going to go at him for this one. So I went and to see, and of course there's all the anti-Greg Hardy talk, but the first one at the top was, I loved it, was, oh, it's always fight week. Like, I don't know if they put the but that's how it read to me, like, oh, it always is.
Yeah.
Because it is, and to your guys' point, I got to come clean here. This kind of adds to what Goz is saying, and perhaps touches on something that I know was on their docket, but I don't think we got to touch too much on it last week, which was our ESPN Plus experience, how that's been coming along. We've been getting a bigger sample size now, right, guys?
Yeah.
And this one, for example, not just the live experience, but like Ghost said, there wasn't much of a Twitter presence. I agree, but kind of can't really agree too hard because I wasn't on Twitter. I'm a dummy, and I actually woke up at the wrong time to watch the full card, and I realized that I woke up for the main card, and I'm such a purist. I wanted to watch it from start to finish, and my body may or may not have been really tired. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sleep. I'm going to wake up, and I'm going to watch it. It'll be a good experience to test it like Fight Pass, because sometimes that'll be good for Fight Pass if you didn't want to stay up for the 1 a.m. China ones, which, hey, I'm not savage, you know what I'm saying? But even me, I wasn't even like feeling the need to watch it live, kind of to Goz's point in that time slot in the overall scheme of things, right? And I guess, I want to ask you guys what you thought of the live experience, but a couple things I noticed was it's a bit of a pain to search when you go back to watch something like UFC Fight Night. We have this conversation all the time, George. We talk about all the different titles. when we have that discussion, I will go through like the first 3 or 4 of them. Nothing pops up. You have to pop in like Overeem, and then it'll pop up. But then when I went to repop it in again, because it only pops up, it allows you to watch the prelims and then the main card in separate clicks. And be sure not to click Espanol unless you're down with the Espanol. When you get out of it to click, I go, okay, well, I guess I have to redo the search function again. No problem. Let me just type in Overeem. Oh, wait, it didn't do it. And I'm like, is it me? Is it? No. I did it 3 times in a row and actually got different results every time. The third time, finally getting what I was looking for, the option of 3, and you make your choice. Again, kind of branching it off into different steps, and that was my issue with the UFC revamp. We've taken things that went from 1, 2 to sometimes no clicks because.
How long did it take Fight Pass to straighten up?
Fight Pass was pretty easy. I mean, because they offer you chapters. The search was pretty good when Eric Winter was at the helm.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of fell apart where a guy's last fight won't come up. Oftentimes you have to go search his opponent to find his fight. It's always funny how that works out.
That shouldn't be tough to figure out.
If it's like Tough 28, certain events like Tough 28, those things as well. Like you can't find it. You have to go to the actual event in Tough 28 and go search all the way through. So it's becoming a real pain.
If you don't watch it live and you go back, all the options are like scattered. It's the weirdest thing. Like you would think the first thing that would come up is like watch the main card or something, right? But it's usually watch the main event. Then it's like watch the prelims, then watch the main, and they're like kind of mixed with like the best of Alistair Over. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
it's hard to find stuff.
Yeah. Well, I say have faith, and I'm not a UFC cheerleader per se,
right,
nor an ESPN guy, but I know that after watching the UFC and following the UFC for a while, they want to button it up. And for sure, ESPN is really, really buttoned up. So I think that'll just continue to get better. You're just, I guess, going to have to have a little bit of patience, But
I agree.
Your points are valid.
No, I agree. We will get better. I'm not condemning it at all. And I've even had some interaction with whoever's running the ESPN Plus handle. I gave them their due daps, like when they were including intro walkout musics, even for prelim fighters. I really appreciated that, though. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I know they're kind of changing things as we go, but it feels like we're getting less walkouts, both main card and prelims. Something to watch out for. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter. Have you guys been noticing that?
I think the cost of making the show run smoother and quicker has been that.
Okay, that could have been it. And then
so they save it for certain ones.
And that's something I'm going to be watching. And now the second part, I can't weigh in at all because, again, I wasn't an ESPN guy like you guys were. So this is one for you guys to answer. The typical da-da-dun, da-da-dun, ESPN, the Ocho, and whatever. They're playing the da-da-dun, da-da-da. Did they just, like, in this thing where we're doing all this, not to get all Adam Carolla here, but where we're doing all the music in every waiting room now is techno music. It's not, we can't just have easy music. Everything is, like, techno, fucked out, we're in a club kind of stuff. Like, did they just do that to the ESPN theme? Because now it's, like, all, like, like I'm at a club and like I'm supposed to be on drugs. Like, this is sports. This is sports.
Every sport has their own like theme, right?
Really?
On ESPN, it seems like it now.
I don't know. I only know that little annoying song.
God! Don't even do it.
Yeah.
It's gonna make me so mad.
But I was thinking about something here. By the time we got to Saturday, I was emotionless and I was spent. And again, I had UFC 236 hangover.
Yeah, sure.
But I was thinking about why, right? I know that Man U versus Barcelona was one thing. And then how about Friday night, Final Fight Championship? Oh, you weren't there. They had a boxing match that was awesome. Right. And I remember going, yes. And then we had the high of having the David Ellefson here.
Yeah, that was
pretty
awesome.
Cool. And he came in with his band. And I think by the time I got to Saturday morning, I just didn't wake up and roll out of bed like, I'm ready for some fights. I think there needs to be a little bit of a build-up for something like that. You know what I mean?
I can agree with that.
So,
yeah.
Like that. I get it. You want it to be live in St. Petersburg, Russia, and you definitely want something different from time to time. But I think us humans are conditioned in a certain little way to have to. Not only is it a build-up to Saturday, it's a build-up to Saturday night.
And that
Friday nights on Bellator are a little bit tough for me sometimes. I'll be honest.
Right.
Sometimes you're just like, you feel like you're just walking in. You emptying your pockets, putting down your wallet. You went to the bank or, grabbed your mail or something like that, and all of a sudden you hear them kicking off on Bellator, and you're like, holy crap.
Hey, to your point, I just saw a tweet from MMA Junkie's own Dave Doyle, commenting on the UFC Fight Pass announcing we're back, I believe June 18th, right? Not UFC Fight Pass, I believe Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series on UFC Fight Pass. June 18th, I believe, is the kickoff date. But anyways, Dave Doyle just kind of quote tweeted the announcement. Junkie will roll out these announcements, obviously, and he just said, like, the great thing about keeping this Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series annual, despite its success and not just milking it, is like that. You're excited when it finally comes back around. And it's simple, but it's true, right?
It is.
And even someone like me, I'm one of the most hardest when it comes to too much fights. And if anybody watches more fights than me, there probably are people, but they're very few. But even me, it's more work for me on those weeks, guys. But I am looking forward to it. I am jacked. I don't care if it's more footage or more articles to write. I genuinely enjoy that series, and part of my enjoyment, I like to think, is because they only do it once a year, and it's very just impactful.
It's Tuesday,
right to the bone.
It's 3 hours. It's 5 fights. If it was 12 fights on a Tuesday, trust me, you'd be like, fuck that.
That's the perfect amount.
But it's a perfect amount to just sprinkle in. It doesn't bother anyone. And
yes.
I don't know what your TV viewing is like on a Tuesday, but mine isn't. You got the Lakers at home every once in a while. That's usually a big night in L.A. But other than that, I'm good. Take this quick call.
Sure.
All right, who do we got?
We have H Money.
What's up, H Money? How you doing?
H Money.
H Money.
Hello?
What's up, man?
Yes, sir. Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We talking about the UFC card this past weekend where Alistair Overeem getting the upset win to resurrect his career.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what we were talking about?
Sir.
Yeah, we mentioned that.
Yeah, I was a huge Alistair Overeem fan, man, but when he was winning the K1 tournaments and he was he fought on Dream, and also he was a Strikeforce champion, but with his PED use, it really turned me off from Alistair Overeem. I mean, he used steroids, brother, and so I'm not a fan of any fighter that's been caught taking PEDs. And we all know he took steroids. He was real skinny at first, and he became the strongest man in mixed martial arts. And so that's the only thing that kind of threw me off about the card, man. And I'm really a Bellator fan, and I like to watch fights on DAZN because there's no pay-per-view on DAZN. And you got a big fight coming this weekend on DAZN, Bellator. This is a pay-per-view card, and it's on DAZN for only $19.99 a month, or $100 a year. So that's a big fight. Fish versus McDonald, two former UFC fighters. Fish was ranked in the pound for pound list for years, and McDonald he was a former champion, and but he just lost to Mousasi. So I'm really a fan of Bellator, and I just wanted to ask you guys.
Are you gonna watch the Fitch fight? Because he had a PED incident.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it because I'm a fan, but I hope he loses, man. I know he been caught, so.
Yeah, I just think what I've found is after covering the sport for a long time, it's going to be hard to pick out a card that's PED use free. You know what I mean? I guess if you're singling out a couple different fighters here and there, I get it. Alistair, to his credit, it was a while ago, and since then, I believe he's been a model citizen. I believe a little bit in second chances, especially even before MMA, being a Dodgers fan and seeing Darryl Strawberry and how many chances he got as a Dodger, and Steve Howe, and oh my God, these guys used to pop for coke like 8-9 times. It was ridiculous. To be
fair though, they weren't trying to knock each other out.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing. I think John McCarthy's one of the few people that can back me up on that. I'm not convinced as much on that argument that you're inflated so much that you could now kill someone. I just think it sucks that I'm doing it to cause you more. I think it's more about the thinking of it, you know what I mean? But I don't believe anyone is so big that that's what can happen, because otherwise bouncers or heavyweights would be knocking, every time they put their hands on someone that's 100 pounds less, then there'd be more of those types of deaths, I guess, out there.
They're all lions. Mm-hmm. To me, it's just like, would you rather be in there with a lion for 5 minutes?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's not, it shouldn't happen or whatever. But the whole, hitting baseballs out, I understand the analogy that people try and bring. and all that. But I don't know. A few people I've talked to have told me they're not going to make them any stronger. That they're gonna actually put that weapon on them. It's just mentally they're stronger. Their confidence is stronger. Their ability to recover is grander. Their ability to go further out is better. You know what I mean? But more muscles or anything like that. I don't know. But that's something that only recently have I started to hear a little bit more. Because every time someone pops, there's all these people that I follow that chime in and bring up different things from the past that just remind me of that point that I wanted to make for a while.
They wouldn't do it if it didn't give them an advantage. And if an advantage is what they need to perform, and it can maybe prolong your beating or whatever, that sucks, dude.
It definitely gives an advantage, and I've always been against it from an honor system kind of guy.
Yep.
Like I was, come from the traditional martial arts, but at the same time, when I competed, when I competed or thought about competing before I did, I said, okay, before you get in the cage, even at amateur level, I want you to picture the most scariest person in the worst case scenario, all those things, and if you're still okay with it, then go through with it. And part of the person I pictured, this mythical person, was a dude on steroids, and I told myself, that in my own head, and I'm not saying for everybody, I'm not saying it's right, but my justification as a human being, and at that time, a competitive martial artist, was that if I want to compete, I'm going to have to accept that some people do that, and if I'm going to be confident in myself, and you're accessing that masculinity, that I don't care. And that was kind of the off thing with Mark Hunt, because he said a similar thing, but then said something else after the positive test.
That's a smart approach,
Brock Lesnar
because
thing.
it's a real approach.
It's real. It's realistic.
What I mean?
You have to know you're going
to
be.
And it's not just applied to sports; it's applied to life in general. But it's also not. Well, I should have started like this. It's not just applied to MMA or combat sports. It's all sports. There's cheating going on in all sports, and really, there's cheating going on in all facets of life.
And just one thing, the ironic thing about Reem is you can make an argument that whatever he did, or even if he is hypothetically, let's just say, continuing to do or whatever. And I'm not saying that's the case.
He was a TRT guy, I remember, right?
Yeah, he was a lot of things, man. There was a trip to China with some genetic stuff, maybe, I don't know. And I get that point. And I was actually just having that conversation myself. But a guy like Reem, you look at 9, 10 KO losses, how long he's been in the game, and kind of how he's taken his lumps, whether they were losses, positive tests. He's always taken it on. He's always done his own series, kept an open door with the fans. Has always been up front.
Are you talking about
he comes back, he
the
gets
Reem
better.
Series? The video series?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And just him as a martial artist, he comes back, he gets better, he takes his licks, he'll go train with somebody that beat him, and his ego has really changed over the years from the early days, guys, to where I would argue that not only is Reem a better person and martial artist now, that whatever if there's a mythical scale, whatever bad he did kind of gets outweighed. Look at all the times he's gotten iced, and at a certain point, I believe it becomes diminishing returns if you keep taking that stuff, because then all you're doing is getting your body to a point to be doing something that maybe it shouldn't be doing, especially after you've had X amount of heavyweights knocking you the F out. I mean, we just had Jorge Masvidal, talking about what's his secret, and what does he say? What did he say? He said longevity. Jorge swears he's I've never messed with his PEDs, and that's why he can have a career where he's still improving later on in life. So just because some guys doing it, there are improvements, but there's plenty of negatives too. There's no free lunch out there. Those guys are going to be paying for it.
Yeah. All right. Let's take this break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Darren Till, who did not fight this past weekend, but got in a little bit of trouble out there in the Canary Islands, is what I'm hearing. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back to discuss this.
Put excellence and excitement in your Vitamix. Add ice, and you get MMA Junkie Radio.
Guys, what's going on with Darren Till? Why is he acting a fool? You know, back in the day, he moved to Brazil for either 3 or 5 years, and it was because he had gotten in some trouble on the streets of Liverpool. And then if you recall, prior to his shot versus Tyron Woodley, because he came back to live to Liverpool, he was told by his coach, it's safe for you to come back to Liverpool. He came back, and he was living there, but there was an incident there on the streets where he got into a fight. And, you know, it was a street altercation. And it was prior to the Tyron Woodley fight. It wasn't brought up much, and I was surprised. I thought people were going to ask him a little bit more for those details. And I know this because I followed everything leading up to the pay-per-view in Dallas, but I thought I would have heard more. Anyway, he's never shied away from saying, look, man, I just feel like I can throw down with anyone on this planet. I'm not scared of anyone. He's got that street mentality where if something's going to go down, I'm drawn to it. But I also felt like he was slowly leaving that, you know, getting away from that and just being a proud professional prize fighter. Maturing, exactly. Especially now that he's got more fame, more money. He's back in Liverpool. Like, do you really need to do that? I don't know. But that said, he didn't really get in an altercation, I guess, per se. I mean, well, what happened in the Canary Islands was they trashed the hotel room, which reminds me of the U.S. hockey team, or Ally Aquinta. You know what I mean? Huh?
This tweet was pretty funny.
What'd he say?
Let me pull it up. Keep talking.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, this happened in the Canary Islands. Look, maybe I don't know if it was just a drunken stupor or what. He's probably pretty hurt at the loss to Masvidal, but that was a few weeks ago, and at some point, especially when you're in a foreign country, you have to be a little bit more smart about the type of trouble that you're in. You and your crew have to be more cognizant. They stole a cab, which I want to see what the definition of that actually was.
Well, luckily we not to steal Goz's old gimmick and Josh's actual gig, but luckily I found some audio here of Darren Till explaining himself to George about the cab. George, I tell you, I was only on my way home, but what was a fucking ride? I thought it was one of those self-serve Ubers, like a fucking bike, George.
like those
That
razors, those
sounded pretty genuine.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Look, this took place in Tenerife, which is the largest island in the Canary Islands chain, and it's off the coast of Africa. He was down there with 4 other Brits. They were arrested for trashing the hotel and then speeding off in a taxi while the cab's driver had loaded their luggage into the trunk.
But they were at another hotel before that and got kicked out, right? So I think they were at another hotel. They got kicked out.
Breaking furniture.
Then they went to another hotel where this happened. I mean,
well, they weren't welcomed in that one.
Yeah.
So they never made it in.
But that isn't. How many signs do you need here?
I don't know. So is that 5 idiots? Like, not one's going, guys, let's settle down here. We're not in England.
Right.
And he's a professional fighter, so there's going to be tons of cameras, and this could cost us a lot of money. Let's all just chill out here a little bit, you know? The trashing of the hotel room, look, done that. Seen it, done it. And, you know, whatever. But stealing a car, once you get into that, and you parlay that to the hotel, and getting, you know, emptying, I don't know. It's a bit much, man.
I kind of like the stealing the car part because to me that says you're committed. You're not just like, hey, look what I'm doing. I'm gonna go slap somebody to be a dick, you know?
Right.
Like, you know, you're stealing a car. Like, you're committing to something at that point. But all joking aside, guys, you guys are right. I'm not advocating. I'm not condoning it. I'm not making excuses. But I will say this: I don't know why, but I get this feeling like the reason maybe why I'm not reacting and making jokes like that is because when I picture it, I feel like Darren Till's doing it. It doesn't make it okay, but in good nature. For instance, when I saw the headline, Conor McGregor slapped cell phone, like the first image I got was pretty much exactly what the video would later show. You know what I'm saying, guys? Because when that Conor news broke, we didn't have the video at first. Mm-hmm. But when the video came out, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, that's how I kind of pictured it. Kind of more of an aggressive, whether the guy saw something he wasn't supposed to or whatever. I kind of just pictured that, and perhaps Conor, with other violent actions, maybe kind of tinted it, made it less surprising, I should say, with the more extreme stuff we've seen him do. Whereas Darren Till, I feel like Darren Till's the kind of guy, like if you have too much drinks with him and you go into a porta potty, he's going to look for a rope or some duct tape and some other buddies to help him duct tape you into the fucking stall, to see that you're stuck there and have a laugh at you.
Right,
like, he seems like that guy.
I've always felt like the whole point of those antics is to not get caught.
Well,
like,
yeah,
I've done
in
some
a
of this
perfect
stuff,
world.
and I'm not trying to claim I'm him or a member of the U.S. hockey team, but I've rarely been caught. That's why I can tell some of these stories. That's why a cop pulls me over and goes, "Oh yeah, let's just let him go. He doesn't really get in much trouble." Because most of the time we were doing things, it was to not get caught, and that's why I'm like, I'm shocked at what I see out of some of these fighters, how they're trying to be players at the club and they're horrific, or they're trying to be gangsters or you know what I mean, party animals, and they're just getting caught and paying thousands of dollars, and I don't know. I just feel like you're kind of an idiot, honestly.
I feel you there. I mean, the statute of limitations is passed. I can share it. I'm not going to be working for the Encore. But when I was security at Mario Stoudemire, you guys are familiar with that basketball player, but he's on the Suns at this point of his career. I mean, again, like, fooling around on your lady is one thing, but fooling around on your lady when you are with your lady and your kids in one room, and you buy the adjoining room next door and decide that is the one room in the hotel that will be the safest for you to cheat on your lady, the adjoining room to where your actual lady was. And of course, we came upon a domestic violence call, and Amari was in the hallway, beat up by his lady and locked out. And when we asked him what happened here, and the funny part was breaking it down. I'm like, wait, so she called me cheating? Okay, I get that part. Okay, he's a famous guy.
Did the wife maybe know about it?
Well, I was just like, the wife was in there. She was in the door, and she was small, which was the funny thing. And he had scratches by his eyes. Like, I think she scratched my eye, and it's trade season. Damn it. Fuck me, right? And then the security guard who was a black guy with me, and he goes, I'll trade with you. And it was the funniest thing, because this guy sitting in his
I'll trade lives?
Yeah, because he's sitting in his self-wall. He was a celebrity, pretty much, just kind of sitting in his self-pity. Like, you're a dummy. You're cheating on your girl
in the worst
the
way.
Adjoining room next to your, and your kids are in there too. Come on, dude.
I mean, part of it's
you want us to feel bad for you.
Your crew's got to take care of you as well.
Odom was there.
I mean?
Odom was partying with him, but I don't know if that counts as his crew. But I saw Odom with him the night before at XS.
Well, this is the look of a guy who's not surprised.
None of those
That'd
names.
be the one guy that I would say if they said, "Who else do you think was there?" I don't know, Lamar Odom.
Now, since all this went down, here's a sad story, guys, and I hate to really ruin our Mondays or anything like that. What? USADA gives Walt Harris 4 months suspension.
What?
For contaminated supplement? Okay, that seems to be something minor, or something that was a mistake.
All right.
We just had Walt Harris, so I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
I'm a big Walt Harris fan.
But 4 months suspension for contaminated. We'll read that in a second, but that tells me he wasn't a bad guy.
All right.
Did you hear about the fighter in Brazil who died?
Yeah. Fought Magny and Efrain Escudero in a 2-fight stint, I believe.
Yeah, his name is Rodrigo Goiano de Lima, killed in Brazil after an altercation with an Uber driver. So it sounds like this was one of those Uber share, where it's not just you're the only one in the car. Mm-hmm. Whoa, what was that? Who's yelling?
The guys you spotted earlier?
Yeah, I was telling Dan, there's 2 people out here that have been arguing. It seem like they're friends, but they've been drinking.
Oh, okay.
It's a pressure cooker.
All right. According to reports by Brazil's G1 and UOL websites, De Lima was run over by the driver at 9 p.m. on Sunday in Belém, Brazil. De Lima, 28-year-old jiu-jitsu teacher and fighter who had 2 UFC fights between 2014 and 2015, and like Dan noted, one of them was Efrain Escudero. Who's the other one, Dan?
Neil Magny, I believe.
Neil Magny, okay.
So a welterweight and a lightweight fight, I think you had.
Right. Very long-time friend, raised with Michelle Praceres. Michelle Praceres confirmed the death this morning. All right, so what some of the accounts are is he had an argument with the Uber driver. What happened was the driver got in the sorry. I'm rushing there till the end. Where was it? I had lost my notes. De Lima was in the car with 4 people when an argument broke out. They cite a witness account that said the driver got annoyed at one of the passengers' tone and asked for silence. De Lima then allegedly disapproved of the reaction and punched the driver. The report says the passengers left the car and went toward a gas station. that's when the driver sped up and ran over DeLima and died immediately.
Similar to Ryan Jimmo. Altercation, and then the person, I think, realizes they can't deal with it like a human being, much less a man.
If we just go off this, look, DeLima was obviously wrong to strike him.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, definitely.
But he didn't need to. No, he doesn't need to be dead because of this. You know what I mean? The Uber driver is completely out of line, and hopefully he never is a free man again. You can't just fucking take your car and run somebody over.
Oh man, yeah.
I don't know where the tempers escalated or what happened. Somebody told someone to shut up. The other person could have maybe, probably wanted to stand up for the group. Maybe. I don't know, because these are the details that I'm reading off according to G1 and oliberal.com. It just is sad, man, that's what cost this man his life.
Stupid.
It's coward. Yeah, it's very cowardly. And you're right. It doesn't make it get you right or anything. And I could totally. I mean, fighters are. Sometimes the stereotype is true. Definitely, some can be very aggro and more apt to punching you, even if they feel that they're in the right for it. And that doesn't make it right. And you're right, but yeah, it's like that Pulp Fiction scene where it's like, you don't mess with another man's car, man, because that's just cowardly. Like explaining how there's levels to stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that even that analogy kind of holds true here, and with these Ryan Jimmo situations, these other situations you hear where not just messing with the car, but using your car to mess with someone is also very cowardly.
All of this was completely unavoidable.
Avoidable. Yeah,
Correct.
plenty of options. Either defend yourself or take legal justice.
Just get out like the other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, our thoughts and prayers go out to that family and Presaris as well. Man, that is sad. We'll come back and talk a little bit of boxing. There was some big fights, including Terrence Crawford and Amir Khan. Also, Danny Garcia got a win this past weekend as well.
After an accidental blow, the blue corner informs referee David Fields that their fighter can no longer continue, obligating him to stop this contest with an official time of 47 seconds of round number 6, declaring the winner by way of technical knockout, still the WBO welterweight champion of the world, Darren
At night, the boogeyman checks under his bed to make sure these three cats aren't there. Here's George Goes and Dan.
All right. That was the call there from New York where Terrence Crawford defeated Amir Khan. All that booing, I think some of that booing came from Josh because Josh was there and part of him wishes he wasn't. It was quite the disappointment there for the fight to end like that. Some are saying, man, he hit him in the thigh. He didn't get him flush. Khan was looking for a way out. I've seen Khan fight for quite a while. He doesn't strike me as a puss. But I wasn't there, and I didn't see that. So, I don't know. Josh, you were there. What did you think of the finishing blow? And what did you think of the night of fights out there with the At the Fights crew, minus Jerry Cooney?
Yeah, we missed Cooney, but we got to enjoy it with Large and some other Barstool radio personalities from Barstool Breakfast, so that was awesome. I mean, it's always great to be at the Garden. That was cool. As far as the stoppage, I think it's important to note that people weighing in on this who have never had a professional fight or even an amateur one should be taken with a grain of salt. So I've never been in a professional fight. I've never been in an amateur one. Amir Khan is far tougher than I will ever be. Having said that, I have seen some other shots that would appear to be worse than that, and I've seen fighters continue. I mean, Jerry Cooney, he talked with Randy Gordon earlier about it. I mean, the low blow accidental that he landed on Larry Holmes was a pretty damn vicious, and Holmes took, I believe, like 3 minutes. The fight continued. Look, though, we're not in Amir Khan's shoes. We don't know how that felt. I've never been hit by Terrence Crawford, so it's tough to tell. The optics were not great. And to me, what the bigger problem is, I mean, there were a lot of people, that was their first fight, and they paid a good amount of money to be at MSG, and a lot of other people ordered it on pay-per-view. Will those fans come back a second time, a third time? Will they continue to be boxing fans? I heard a lot of anger coming out of the Garden from people, just disappointed. You go to a basketball game, you go to a football game, a team is going to win, a team is going to lose. Your team might not look great, but there's going to be a conclusive ending. The ending that night, I got to agree with my guy Teddy Atlas on ESPN. The fans ultimately were the ones who got screwed, and I really hope that some new boxing fans are not alienated based on what they saw that night.
Did you see it, Ghost?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Look, there have been, in my life, I've been hitting the nuts quite a bit. And it's not always about the appearance of whatever it was, whether it was a kick or a ball being slammed in there, whatever it was. Sometimes it'll look bad, and actually you get lucky. It's not that bad. One of the worst ones I've ever taken was from my dog. He's 16 pounds. He jumped on me. It crushed me for about 2 days, okay? So it's hard to be able to say, that shouldn't have hurt him, because we all know all it takes is a nick or something, and you're really bad.
Put me down once.
So it's hard to say it, especially with a guy like Amir Khan, who's been in there with some pretty tough fighters, okay? What made the situation difficult was his reaction, the verbiage afterwards, him not taking all 5 minutes, then claiming that he didn't even know he had 5 minutes. That was a little weird. If you watch the fight little by little, you can kind of, if you're just good at reading people's faces, you could tell he just thought he was going to do better. And I think little by little, if I had to take a stab at it, I would say he probably was looking for a way out.
I only saw the highlights, so I don't want to, take it in complete context for the night and how people were feeling, because that all attributes to kind of what Josh is saying, people walking out. But whenever I hear this, and I'll get your guys' opinion, I know we're not boxing historians, so it's unfair to put us on the spot, but I think of the most disappointing nights, and usually disappointing nights as far as boxing goes. And my number one was always from a kid remembering Mike Tyson versus Peter McNeely. All the build-up, he's out of prison. They're showing McNeely running with his Akitas. Can this guy even survive a round? What's going on? And it was just over fast. So whether it was the fight itself, a fighter maybe doing something, or a referee intervention, would this kind of be in like a top 10 discussion as far as like boxing disappointing nights? Back to your point, Josh, is it really? I understand and don't disagree for all the reasons you said, but as a whole, does it rank pretty high up there as far as letdowns and the way it kind of all unfolded?
And Josh, before you answer, let me say something real fast. I have a feeling where Josh is going to be headed with this, and I have a reason why he's going to head in that direction, because he's a hardcore MMA fan. All right, and MMA has given us a lot, like a good run in 2019.
Yeah.
And plus, when you view MMA, it doesn't mean you have to hate boxing now. There's no line that's divided or anything, but MMA can spoil you a little bit, because so much is based around Crawford and Khan that if that disappoints, you're like, like someone really, really took the air out of the balloon. You know what I mean? Whereas MMA, that's the beauty of MMA. Fight number 3, fight number 8, and fight number 11 can fucking rule and make your night. And the other ones just have certain little moments where you don't need a ooh and ah the whole 15 minutes or 25 if it's a title fight. And so I'm going to bat here a little bit for MMA, but Josh, go ahead, answer it. How was your night overall?
I mean, again, I'm very fortunate enough to have been there through work. If I paid big money, man, I would have been let down. And you think about, not to compare it to MMA too, man, when boxing's on, boxing is, like I was lucky enough to be a Fury Wilder man. That goes up against like any sporting event I've ever been at. But when you think about the last UFC pay-per-view we're coming off was 236, and there were 2 Fight of the Year candidates on that card. And then you look at this, and the main event was not, the ending was what it was. And then, the undercard itself, too, was underwhelming. And this is pay-per-view. This is big money when, there's a lot of streaming action, too. Yeah, I mean, it's a letdown. And then you look at the boxing calendar. Canelo Jacobs is as good as a fight as you can ask for. 2 weeks away,
yeah.
Right. But then after that, it's a whole lot of one-sided A-side versus B and C-side fights. So not great.
I'm going to say it doesn't fall under one of the worst ones ever, only because it didn't have the magnitude of other fights. So this is just a fight between 2 good fighters, but it's not like back in the 90s or whatever when you're waiting for like Tyson Holyfield or something. If something like that were to happen in a fight like that, which it kind of did, that would be a huge letdown. This one, I almost want to say like you were kind of a fool if you ordered it anyway, because it was so one-sided. You kind of knew what was going to happen. Amir Khan is a great fighter. He's actually one of my favorite fighters to watch. I think he's fun. But he didn't stand a chance in that fight. And you kind of knew it. So, in a way, like, it's your fault for being let down.
Boxing pay-per-views are going to be like that. MMA pay-per-views, we can criticize the card going in. Oh, man, this isn't as stacked as fill in the blank or whatever, going, in the past or in the future. Mm-hmm. But once you sit down and watch it, you rarely go, fuck, how do I get my money back? Or can I get you think the UFC will give me $20 back? It was only worth 40, not 64 or whatever. You rarely say that. We complain going in, but coming out, we rarely, because something will always deliver. It's a great sport. It's a controversial sport with a lot of dramatics as well as competition, athletic competition. Yeah. Boxing, you can have that feeling where you're like, fuck this, I'm skipping the next one. You can say that a lot more common than in MMA.
That's true. I mean, it makes me more grateful for MMA, if anything. I mean, even this weekend, like, how many cards in boxing are you actually verbally saying, like, I'm looking forward to this fight more than the others? For example, Jacare and Hermanson. I like both those guys a lot. Headline the fight this week on ESPN. But you know what my main event is?
Lineker,
Corey Sandhagen. That's right. You know me too well, GG. That's right. That's the main event for me.
Yeah, I mean,
when you say that in boxing,
so we're a little spoiled in MMA. Now, granted. Well, the reason we bitch a lot is because it's expensive to be an MMA fan. We're doing this every goddamn month. WWE fans just send their $9.99 every month, and they get it all. Boxing, they got their, these world-class fights, from time to time or whatever. It's just not as often. It's not as time-consuming of a sport as mixed martial arts. Plus, part of the beauty of boxing is watching someone like Crawford dissect someone like Khan. Khan's not on his level, and that's why Crawford was minus 3,000 and Khan was plus 1,000. We knew there was a slight puncher's chance, but not an MMA puncher's chance. Mm-hmm. All right? So, but if Crawford dissects him, then it makes you preview, wow, I wonder what he would look like against Errol Spence, which is what a lot of people are talking about. So there's that slow build-up to get to that. That's why the sweet science term is actually a really, really cool term. I like it because not everything's just based on destruction. It's based on the fighter's growth, the performance, the entertainment factor. You know what I mean? It sucks, though, when one of these pay-per-views goes down. And I did want to say one thing. You brought up Peter McNeely. We haven't brought that up in a long time. Not that I know the dude or if this is going to make a difference. This is literally like 25, 30 years ago.
Whoa.
But for the time he was in there, McNeely went to fight.
Yeah,
he gets shit on a lot.
He does.
Because he was kind of a dork, and the stuff he was saying, and it just didn't come off, in any way like cool. Tyson would just give him these looks like, you for real, dog? But when the fight started, he went after him, swinging hard. They were kind of clashing heads and running into each other. Yeah. It was just like, I think Tyson was like, what the fuck, But when Tyson obviously got a hold of him, he showed, I'm way superior to this guy. But I'll credit him because there was other fighters that had way more talent than McNeely. They just didn't have the balls and bravado to put themselves out there. And what happened anyway? Yeah. They still got knocked out. But at least he went out there and swung and tried to take his head off,
No, totally. I guess I just had the classic experience as a kid where we'd always go to my dad's friend's Rob house. And Rob was a Mexican guy, so we'd always watch Julio Cesar Chavez in the early 90s. And that turned into Oscar De La Hoya, right? But from Tyson, I started coming in remembering in the early 90s, and he kind of went to prison already, right? So that McNeely, kind of the fight comeback from there, was such a big deal where I went to my other dad's friend Tony's house, and he was a big Mike Tyson fan, had pictures up on his house with them. He had all the VHS folks, all the VHS collections, like bootlegging, ripping it. And I remember we had us over for a barbecue. He played all the old Tyson fights, got everybody pumped up, and he was like, "You especially, little Danny." He's like, "This is gonna be your first Tyson fight. Oh, I'm so excited for you. If I could go back in your shoes where I was in the '80s," and just getting me pumped up, and then you get the 33 seconds or whatever it was, and everybody was just so let down. Like the dude was so disappointed. He was like, "I want my money back." Like it was just like the classic building up for your friends. Watch this.
Yeah, you couldn't even bet on him because you had to lay so much to win so little. It was just a matter of let's just see the destruction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe him and the post ring guy get into a beef, or maybe a water bottle lands. And
they don't do that no more, huh? Like big house parties for fights. So we used to have really big ones at our house, Dan. And one time, so we were known that when it was a big fight, we're gonna have people over. There's gonna be a lot of food. One time, the TV, like the cable box in our living room, went out. And so, picture normally we have maybe 50 people. They all had to go into George's bedroom to watch the fight.
Well, and some went outside.
Yeah, so we had to open the window, and then people were looking outside. I remember one of our neighbors was on a step ladder so that he could just be above a little bit of the heads and watch through George's bedroom window.
I think our TV went out or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Hey, well, when the first TV went out, did you hear the whole room go, "Oh"?
I think it happened earlier, right? But it was.
We had already split into two, and it was a lot of my buddies that were there. But all of a sudden, boom! I mean, we got bumped.
It was Camacho and Chavez, I think, was the fight.
I could never remember. Yeah. Let me say this about Walt Harris. I had a chance to read it a little bit. I think it's just easier if I read it because it's not that thorough of an article, and I don't think it needs to be. By Dave Doyle today, just as the show is starting. UFC heavyweight Walt Harris has been suspended 4 months by the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. So that's USADA. The agency announced on Monday. The 35-year-old Harris tested positive for the anabolic agent LGD 4033 in an in-competition urine sample collected by the California State Athletic Commission at UFC 232 at the Forum in Inglewood, California. So not even his last fight. Wait, am I thrown off by something? Hold on a second. It is his last fight.
4 months is, that's usually what fighters take off in between fights. I don't understand. I know it's
I know why I'm throwing off. So that was the Andrei Arlovsky fight. I apologize. We just interviewed him, and I felt like we were interviewing him coming off, but it was previewing his fight. Mm-hmm. All right. So he says, while Harris could have been suspended for as long as 2 years, he cooperated with USADA on with information about a dietary supplement product he was using before and at the time of the relevant sample collection, per USADA. This info helped demonstrate that Harris unknowingly ingested a prohibited substance through a tainted supplement, and USADA thus reduced his penalty. So, I think that's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Like Goz was saying, 4 months, no big deal. And I believe it's backdated to December 30th, which means he'll be eligible to compete again on April 30th. Therefore, is his fight on May 4th?
Next week. He'll be ready.
He'll be ready, right? Yeah. It doesn't say anything here that he's not going to go. So, yeah, maybe that's why they purposely did the 4 months. It's a number that's bizarre to me. It's usually 3, 6, 9, 12.
Yeah. And not to get hung up on the previous conversation, but from our caller H Money, but apropos to this news here, George, I feel like the way you read that, I completely agree. And my analogy there is, the angry torch mob that goes after Frankenstein. Like, I'm never really a part of that mob to begin with, but let's just say my torch has gotten less brighter, and I'm not so quick to pick it up. Do you think the angry torch mob, kind of like back to that conversation on I can't root for a guy for PEDs, F him, or I don't care, has the angry torch mob gotten bigger or decreased since USADA, or at least in the recent years? Small sample size still.
Louder, but it's the same amount of people. It's just sarcastic. Louder. It's
really?
louder.
So louder. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's more sarcastic now.
And it also Harris isn't a former world champion like Dillashaw is, or a current world champion when it happened. I think that was what it was more than anything. Dillashaw had some enemies a little bit out there that didn't have any problem relishing, in his downfall.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. It's a good question. I think for a while, about a year ago, I noticed a lot of people were losing faith in USADA, but I was like, well, what do you want? It's random testing. It's not going to get much better than that. What do you want to go back to the old days where the fighter knows that the test is coming, pre and post fight right around that time? That's dumb. Plus, if we go back to the commissions, most of the time those commissions, they were the ones that had a problem with cannabis. Mm-hmm. And USADA is only 8 hours before and 8 hours after. You know what I mean? And a lot of those guys, a lot of these fighters were being taken away because of that. And we all, I think, had come to the conclusion where that was probably the dumbest thing ever. But anyway, just wanted to clear that up with Walt Harris, or on behalf of Walt Harris. Goes, what is going on with that guy?
Dude, there's been a guy out there that's been so drunk. Yeah, I'm surprised security hasn't come by. It's getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
That's why I closed the door. Just in case. Never
mind. All right. So we are going to take a break here. When we come back, we'll be talking to Marcus Silveira, also known as Conan, one of the coaches out there at American Top Team. American Top Team is one of the biggest teams in mixed martial arts. And, boy, have they been on quite the run as of late. We'll talk to him about that when we come back, so don't touch that dial.
Night, the boogeyman checks under his bed to make sure these three cats aren't there. Here's George, Goes, and Dan.
Tonight at 10:30 Eastern, the Houston Rockets look to blast off against the Utah Jazz in Game 4 of their first-round playoff matchup. Listen to the game on NBA Radio Series 207 XM86 and streaming on your phone and at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. For full playoff schedule, visit SiriusXM.com/NBA schedule. All right, let's get to our guest here, Marcus Silveira, also known as Conan, American Top Team head coach, co-head founder, and the owner of MMA Pioneer, joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Conan? How you doing? Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio.
How you doing, George?
All right, my man.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for appearing here on the show. I also got Goes and Dan with me as well. And the first thing we got to ask you, Coach, is how do you do it? How do you do it every week, hopping on these planes and traveling to go there? I know you love your job, but the physical toll that it takes on your body, like all these different time zones and jet lag, is it tougher than it appears? You make it look easy.
Definitely, I will say that it's more than a passion, it's more than a love. I believe that, I was born for this. So it makes it easy on me to do what I do. But, I have, we are a team, so it is a more than a pleasure to have the team winning all the time.
Right.
And that's what it takes, You got to do what you got to do.
How many times do you have to tell a fighter you just can't do it because you're already booked to go somewhere else, or you've already made a commitment outside of MMA? Is that often?
Happens all the time.
Really?
Happens. I wish I could be in every single fight with the guys, but sometimes it's just impossible. It just, I can be in two places at the same time, of course, but, I try to do and be in the place with them all the time.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, the reward must be incredible. But now you guys are probably getting a little bit used to the fact that you've crowned so many champions now, across not just the UFC, but different organizations. You guys are winning main events. How is that high replicated? I guess maybe it's because it happens to be a different fighter each weekend and week out. So maybe the experience is different?
Right. First of all, the key is not to never be used to do this. You know what I mean? To be good and win all the time. Because I believe when you get used to something and you get to the comfort zone and you start losing everything, then you build it. So definitely, we can be champions in every division, in every promotion. We still want to be looking for more. Mm-hmm. With all the respect to every team and every coaches, we really look forward to get better and to get more. Just winning once and twice is not enough.
When will how many professional fighters are at American Top Team, and when will you stop letting the team grow?
Stop the team grow? Never.
Never. Okay.
Never. We don't want to do that.
Okay.
But we have around 120 fighters.
Wow.
All professionals. Yeah, that's the basic numbers goes up and down, but yeah, that is it is a big team with but we find a way to have everybody fighting, everybody being have the best training.
What's the criteria for being able to join American Top Team? Is there anything simple or complicated, like the type of people you want there?
Definitely, you gotta be professionals. But we always looking for not only the professional side, but if you are a great or good amateur fighter and you have a good record, you have a potential. That's something that we're looking for. We pretty much with the doors open. Of course, before anybody comes to train with us, we kind of analyze and we discuss about it. We try to keep the level high. You want to have, top fighters. You want to have people that is really looking forward to get better and, become champions.
Right.
That's, pretty much what is part of, growth.
So going back to the question about the fighters and the time that they get with you, how far in advance do they have to book you? Are you already booked out for the next 4 or 6 months?
You make me sound like so important, but it doesn't work like that. Like I say, I try to squeeze this. As the fight's coming, kind of ready, organizing myself to go. But we have so many coaches. In America, touching pretty much everybody works with everybody. We have a great coaches here, so I think then if I'm not able to go, somebody else is going to be there and he's going to give you the same attention, and he's going to push you exactly the same way. But like I say, it is one of the good things about our team because we have coaches and everybody works with everybody.
Out of all your travels, give me 1 or 2 cities that surprised you where you thought, oh, man, I got to go here. And then you went and you thought, wow, what a beautiful city.
I have been everywhere, George. Every city has something different. That's something that I learn, the culture or the way they are, the way they do things. I'm always looking for things that is going to make me grow as a person. I don't have any place then I say, I don't want to be here. Even the ugly places and with different people, I still learn something.
Gotcha. We're talking to Marcus Conan Silveira, one of the top coaches in the world, head coach at American Top Team down in Florida. Big moments for American Top Team just in the last 3 months alone. Amanda Nunes becoming a champ. Dustin Poirier winning a title. Jorge Masvidal just knocked out Darren Till in London. And I kid you not, the list could go on and on of all the successes out there from all the different fighters that are under the American Top Team banner. All right, Goes, what do you have for Marcus Silveira?
Coach, so we see some of the coaches that you guys have there, and you guys are all former fighters. And I look at guys like Dean Thomas, Mike Thomas Brown, and I look at their background and how they came up in the game. A lot of times when you're on the mat, then there's a coach. Sometimes you see the fighters amongst themselves kind of coach other fighters and give them pointers. Is there anyone that you could see that's a current fighter right now that you feel like is a very good future coach?
I definitely I see that happens all the time. I believe because one of the things one of the ways we are is we are very open-minded in everywhere. So kind of indirectly, some of the guys that have a lot of experience in MMA, they give some part of being a coach. I can tell I can give you one example, like Thiago Alves. When he's not fighting, he is a coach. He really jumps on the coach position and share with the guys his experience. And, I believe then eventually he'll be a coach. But that's something that we learn from the guys. We are, the type of coaches that we think that we know everything. And I think that is one of the beauties of American Top Team. We don't you don't stand on that position that I'm a coach in American Top Team and I know everything. We don't do that. We're learning every day. We try to change things and modify things. Then as with the evolution, with every day has something's happening, and if you don't catch that time, we're losing. We lose amongst ourselves. So we really try to learn from each other. We want to make things better for tomorrow.
Here our job after every card, it seems like one of the topics that always comes up is the greatest fighter of all time, and we're doing this constantly. But the one person that lately we haven't had to do that for is a very colorful personality out of your gym, Amanda Nunes. Okay? Come on, there is no argument that is the greatest female fighter of all time. And what amazes me about her is just her spirit and how she doesn't let that get to her head. She's so grounded. Can you talk a little bit about Amanda Nunes and her reign and how much longer you think she's going to be able to do this?
Talking about her is like talking about almost like my daughter. She's the daughter that MMA gave to me. And the reason why I say that because we really know each other and the way we work with each other makes me, she is just amazing. She has incredible talent. She grows every single day. Even she's a champ, she's being amazing. She keeps herself with her feet on the ground. And I think that is what makes her even better, not only as a fighter, but most as a person. I don't have anything to say about her in a way of how talented. I mean, everybody sees that. Got 135, got 145. She's planning to defend the title in every division. On both divisions, she definitely is going to fight by the end of the year. Probably fight board too. She's defending the title again, on July 6th. So you just, I see exactly the same Amanda than I saw before she fought Misha. Very humble, and just the same person. She just, a good person.
All right, Dan Tom, our fight analyst, what do you have for Conan Silveira?
Hey, Coach. Obviously, before you're a coach, for people that don't know, you fought and had many fights with, many memorable and great fighters. But, of course, one of the more memorable ones, if you look at MMA history, was your fight with Sakuraba. And not to get back into that or rehash that, Conan, but obviously that was a night at Ultimate Japan where you had to fight Sakuraba twice, essentially, go back and having to come back out. And I've read an article of you explaining the pressure you felt. It was a different era. MMA was a Wild West back then, but the pressure that you felt to come back out and fight, and the things that sometimes go on in the back rooms of MMA that the fans aren't aware of. So I guess my question to you now as a coach, do you kind of is that a point of pride for you, Conan, to be able to help and guide your fighters? Because you've seen almost everything, right? I mean, is that something really big for you to be able to help your fighters and not that they've had to go through the same thing, but being able to advocate and make sure things go right back there?
Definitely. The only thing I disagree with what you say then was Sakuraba. I believe that the two fighters that I fought and really made me grow a lot was Sakuraba, definitely, and Maurice Smith. My rematch with him was something that makes me wait. I wait 3 years to go back to him. I knew why I lost. By stupidity. So going back to the Sakuraba situation, it definitely was. That wasn't called MMA back then. Was called anything goes. That is number one. MMA is a pretty name for that. It was created just a few years ago. I was number one. I was in the place. Then I didn't speak the language. I didn't understand shit what they were saying. I was in a situation. Then I didn't understand why I have to go back to fight a guy in the same night. Then I just won, and I felt then if I didn't go back, my life was in danger. When I looked outside on the dressing room, I saw a bunch of Japanese in the black suits. I'm like, man, I think the mafia's outside, just waiting for my answer if I'm going to go back or not. I mean, today I look back and I say, what an incredible experience. But definitely, if I didn't fight that night, I don't know if I'll be talking to you today.
Wow.
That's the way exactly I felt about it. Wasn't fight Sakuraba second time, then kind of got myself out of control. Was just the fact then I felt then I want to get over with this, go back to the hotel, pack and leave. And that's exactly what I did. As soon as the fight was over, I was like, let me go back to the hotel, get my shit and leave. And sleep. I stay in the airport waiting for my flight. So I mean, I don't like to talk about and that is me. When I lost to Maurice Smith the first time, I didn't tell anybody. Then I blew my knee on the week of the fight. Then I couldn't walk. I didn't feel like fans. They don't want to know about the way you feel. They want to see the results of the fight. And maybe as a champion. Because I was a champion in extreme fight battle cage, I should say something, hey, I can't fight. You got to push the fight to another time, another day. But I didn't do it. And definitely I shared the experience with my guys, my fighters. I try to, be a guy, an old brother, and say, hey, maybe this way is not the right way to do things, And I'm glad then it's been working.
No, that's awesome to hear, Coach. And I guess just one last question along that, along those lines for me is speaking of your experience. I saw that your two last fights. You lost the fight in 2002 to Wes Sims at Hook and Shoot, but you came back and you beat Jonathan Ivey by TKO at 2007. The 5-year gap there, Coach, was that because you wanted to make sure you ended on a win? We hear fighters talk about that often. And I guess it's a two-part question because I guess I'm asking you, did you come back for a win? And also, as a coach, have you now seen that with fighters or had to come across that own bridge where you have your own fighter who's maybe debating whether or not they should stop competing or not?
I will tell you this, as much as I have a blessed job, my work I love more and more every day. I never stop thinking about fighting. It's just I think that is a virus that we have in a system that doesn't die. As much as I try to keep the virus down and say, hey, I'm too old. I got another responsibility. I gotta train the guys. I gotta be part of that dream. But I think about fighting every day. That didn't die when I decided to stop. And the gap between one fight and the other was my organizing myself was just to say, what am I going to do? What am I going to go? And, and after the fight with Iva, I said, it's time to just put all my time to my guys, and the team and make the team grow. I didn't know that we were going to grow that much and so big like we are, without the respect to everybody. But I do believe that, sometimes you need to kind of just see that it is good to stop. You don't want to damage. You don't want to, you don't want to hurt everything that you build. So I think that sometimes it would be good for the fighters to, to realize that. That doesn't mean that you're gonna, get away from the sport. You can apply your energy in the different ways, being a coach or helping people. I mean, just so many things you can do. I'm blessed, like I say, to be, still, doing in, MMA in general.
The voice you're hearing, folks, is the head coach of American Top Team, Conan Silveira. You can follow him on Twitter, at Conan Silveira. The same goes for his Instagram.
Yes.
Week after
Twitter,
week.
Instagram, same thing.
Yep. Week after week, you will see him in the corner of many top fighters out there, like Amanda Nunes, Jussier Formega, recently Krzysztof Jotko and Alexei Olenek. Dude's traveling everywhere. In fact, on his way to St. Petersburg, Russia, he stopped by for some vendetta fights. You were in Istanbul, Turkey. So you are literally everywhere. Hard to keep up with you, Coach.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to win wars, you gotta go to the war. You can't be home. You gotta go for it.
Turkey is one of the most passionate fans I've ever seen in soccer. Is the same go for MMA?
Definitely, they are growing really fast right now. I mean, I was surprised to see the arena packed. Wasn't a big show. Was for Turkey, it was a big show. But 5,000 people. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I didn't expect that. I thought there was going to be like few people watching, but I was on television. I mean, the whole show was everywhere. Radio, first page in the newspaper the next day. It was just, I was very surprised.
I want to thank you very much for the time you gave us today. I wanted our audience to hear more of you because, like I say, we are in awe of the success of American Top Team from top to bottom, and you're a major reason for that. You guys have put in the work and done it so well. You never hear a bad word out of American Top Team, so that's a credit to you, Mike Brown, Dan Lambert, Alex Davis. All the guys that have been there for so many years. So, again, congratulations on the success of that team to everybody out there in South Florida, and I hope you guys have more continued success. One last thing. Would you be so open as to say that you feel like American Top Team is the #1 gym in the world? Is that something you aspire to be, and is that something you all say publicly at all?
I definitely yes. But when I say that, I say it with respect and in a very humble way. That is not because we're lucky. It's not because Florida is a sunshine state. It's just because we work hard every single day. Every single day means something to us, and and I don't have any problem to recognize and tell people, yeah, we are, but because that is the reason why, not because we think, and it has to have a reason why, and the reason why because we work hard every day. We have the ambition to be first. We have to be first. In that way, it's never a bad to say it. I think that people sometimes they want to do it, but they are afraid to go for it. We're not, and I think that's the difference.
Right on. All right, Coach. Well, thanks again for the time. We really appreciate
the support. I appreciate having me. I really appreciate the fans and the support for American Top Team. And anytime I'm available.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy your evening.
You too.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. All right, there you have it. That's Conan Silveira. Look, the gym's just been on fire. There's no way around it. You know what I mean? And I remember for a long time, they had won a lot of titles, but the one thing that escaped them was a UFC title. And I think Robbie Lawler was the first one to bring that home. Robbie Lawler won, and since then they've had quite a few. You know what I mean? So congratulations to that gym. Top to bottom, they're also 2-time award winners of Gym of the Year at the World MMA Awards.
They had a WC one, right? Mike Brown,
yeah. They had Daniel Strauss as a Bellator guy. They had Jessica Aguilar as a World Series of Fighting fighter.
Thiago Alves was probably like the first one to go up for a bunch big more. One.
Who?
Thiago Alves was probably the first one to go up for a big one against St. Pierre, where they could have won.
Yeah. No, they had a lot of guys compete for titles for sure, but it's just something that stood out because the team was so big and had so much talent, and yet they were just it eluded them. People weren't picking on them in any way.
Right.
It just eluded them. And Jackson's gym had gotten, a lot of love over the years.
Right.
You know what I mean? Remember, before TJ Dillashaw won that title, Team Alpha Male, they didn't have a champion. Now, the Black Zillions, they didn't have a champion, and then move it over to the Combat Club. Henry Hooft never had a world champion until Kamaru Usman won. That was his first world champion. It is not easy to own a gym and have a UFC champion, much less multiple champions, you know what I mean? Or as a coach, it's not an easy ride either. Some get lucky and they get it pretty quick. Like, look at John Kavanagh. I mean, the first time we really heard about him was with Conor McGregor. And what do you know? Conor McGregor won 2 of them pretty quick. So SBG was on the map fairly quickly. But other gyms have kind of had a little bit of a longer road.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It is cool to watch that generation. I mean, Kavanagh was a guy who was going out to the SBGs out here and American Top Teams even. He was going around to all the gyms, taking the jiu-jitsu classes, and before he built his, little SBG Ireland empire, right? Whereas, other guys like Saif Sayoud in Texas does a great job, and he's a guy that's been on the scene and, he's been around the sport, and then now he's finally getting credit for his team, Fortis MMA, starting to do things, Mark Montoya, etc.
Mark Montoya.
So it's like the new wave kind of coming through. So yeah, you're right. It's hard to do. People don't give that enough credit.
Big time. All right, so thanks to Dan Lambert for setting that one up. And we got to take a break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. When we come back, we'll do our daily debate and have one final round of the news update from this past weekend.
Boom.
Anything. Everybody knows it's duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Whether it's food, less filling,
Tastes great.
less filling,
Tastes great.
gambling, always bet on black.
I like red.
Black.
Red.
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy. Or even social media. Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
The same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
Today's hashtag Daily Debate for @MMA Junkie Radio. Will Alistair Overeem put himself back in the heavyweight title picture with a win over Alexei Olenek? Never mind. I just clicked the wrong one. Okay. All right. Hold on a second.
Hey, that song, that
There we
intro
go.
that we have is so cool. Can we hear it again?
Yeah.
The brothers Garcia seemingly can't agree on anything. Everybody knows it's duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Whether it's food, less filling,
Tastes great.
less filling,
Tastes great.
gambling, always bet on black.
I like red.
Black.
Red.
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy. Or even social media. Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
The same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
Today's hashtag Daily Debate question for @MMA Junkie Radio. Will Rory McDonald make it out of the @Bellator MMA welterweight Grand Prix and still champion? Yes or no, Dan Tom?
I thought you were going to say he's going to make it out alive. I was like, geez, easy on Rory. He only lost one fight here. No, but even
To a
if
middleweight.
You know, it almost could feel the question is like that, though, right, guys? Because I feel like a lot of people are shoveling dirt on Rory McDonald. You know, the damage, the wars, the nose surgery, and those are real intangibles, even personal ones. You know, Rory, Aries, the Red King, all these different iterations of McDonald. Most of us kind of refer to him as a serial killer guy, right? But no, honestly, right? I mean, but he's mature. Well, it was like, oh, everyone's like, Rory's cold. He's like, looks like, you know, he take pictures in a suit and he's still that talented dude, but you know it is interesting because he talks about it himself. He's matured, right? He's a family man now. He's very religious. He's in almost a different headspace, and he kind of talked about that as to being why he kind of dropped the ball with Mousasi. His head wasn't in it, and Rory's not a guy that comes off to me that makes excuses. I think win or lose, he's pretty straightforward. So I take him at his word, but that is a worry because you know I think this fight's you're going to tell us. You know, or this tournament's going to tell us kind of where he is going, and I think that he will make it through the tournament well, but I don't know if he's going to have it, have the belt around his waist. I think he gets past Fitch here if I'm tipping my hand there, but man, this monster in a rematch that could happen if he has to rematch Douglas Lima. I don't know how that's going to go, guys. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. He doesn't get his belt.
Goes?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say his biggest competitor, though, is going to be his own body.
Right.
It's the damage that he takes sometimes in fights, even in wins. If he can kind of just keep himself okay here, this John Fitch fight, get through that. His side of the bracket, if he can get through John Fitch, I mean, John Fitch has probably got the most fights out of everyone in that tournament. Then he comes onto the side of the bracket where there actually wasn't that much experience, right? So if he can get through that, and then like you said, we're kind of expecting that side of the bracket to have Lima at the end. It'll be tough, but I think he can do it. I just feel like he's going to be battling himself.
And that's exactly why I'm going with no.
No.
But it's not. See, Bellator can extend the Grand Prix if they have to. Rory McDonald, I know when he first got signed, he almost took 10 months off just because they wanted to
heal
do
it,
surgery on the nose, and he wanted it to heal completely, and he wanted that additional time off. That said, I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but he has just been through a lot of wars. He started as a 16-year-old that knew it all. We called him the first mixed martial artist from birth, and I'm sure there were others, but I think of the big names out there, he was getting that tag. But Lima had something for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And still, I'm just answering the questions according to the odds. He still has to get through 3 formidable foes, stay healthy, and injury-free. So I'm just going to play the percentages. No. But I think the one that I'm hanging my hat on the most is, I think, Douglas Lima. I think Douglas Lima, in his last fight, just looked like he still kind of can trend up. And Roy McDonald, I've yet to see how he's going to come off that Mousasi loss, because Mousasi fucked him up.
That's a tough loss.
You know what I mean? I actually thought Rory was going to be a lot more competitive because I think Rory's an amazing welterweight. But that was a strong message that Gegard Mousasi sent. So I'm just going to go with no because of that. But I think I'm playing a little bit more of the percentages. And
same here, yeah. That was mine too.
So you guys want to know how it broke down?
Yeah, to check out.
Kind of how it worked out here. 2/3 would be 66 to 33%. This one was 68 to 32, except the flip.
Okay.
Flip side. Goes is with the yeses, and you and I are with the no's.
Wow.
Almost 600 votes came in. But, yeah, I guess people are confident in Roy McDonald versus that field. All right. I want to thank our guest, Conan Silveira, head coach at American Top Team, for his time today. And, we'll be back tomorrow in 22 hours with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Also, want to give another shout out to Richard Hunter. We got a lot of feedback over David Ellefson and coming stopping by from Megadeth.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it really, really was a fun show. I think they gave me a little bit of a bounce in my step, and then I went to the Fight Dome to catch Final Fight Championship, and there was a good boxing match there.
Nice.
That I saw that was very, very competitive and had everybody on the edge of their seats. Aside from that, Max Rapshkov, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right, is one of the big names that people are championing out of the Extreme Couture gym. He got himself a win, and he gained a little bit of experience because he had a rough moment in the fight, but still, he got a win. So it was really, really a fun weekend. Vegas Golden Knights, their back is to the wall. They got to come in tomorrow. They got to come through tomorrow. Otherwise, I think I think a little bit of that honeymoon still from last year will be over. The Clippers, boy, those guys are some bottlers.
Yeah.
They had Golden State by like 5-7 points in the fourth quarter, gave that away. And, of course, Manchester United, oh, my God. It just keeps getting worse and worse after a nice 3-month run. But it was really, really a fun sports weekend. I hope you all had a nice Easter weekend for you, those of you that observed. And that's it. We'll see you all tomorrow. For Josh and Dan and Goes, I'm George. Have a nice day. Be a champion.